people. My name is Cliff, and this is your outgrown religion class. I'm Professor Cliff. And, it's pretty cool. This class has no tuition. So I'm the cheapest class on the university. And there's some other positive things. There's no test, and everyone passes. How's that? Well, actually, not everyone. You know that this world is a big test. This world you were born into is a big test of whether or not you're going to be evil or good. And you have the capacity to be both. But you have this thing called free will, where you make a choice. And so if you guys want to talk to me about God or religion, just let me know. I shut this thing off and talk to you. So that's a good way to shut me up. I tell people, hey, you want to shut me up? Just come over and talk to me. I love talking to students. I think you guys are cool. And yeah, because your brain is active. I want to get you guys thinking. And I want to get you thinking about God. Because on this campus, this is an atheist haven of godless infidels who don't believe in God. And it's really the wrong way of thinking, because God is infinitely good, benevolent, and kind. And the God of the Bible is the true God. There is no other God besides the God of the Bible. Humankind has invented all kinds of default gods because they do not want to honor and to obey the true God who created the universe. And so that's why I'm here today. I'm out here to help educate you guys, give you a free education. This is Professor Cliff's free education time. So if you have any questions about God, the Bible, or any kind of religion, just feel free to come up to me. And I love engaging you on an individual basis in conversation. And I have a lot of articles here that are free. Everything I have is free. I work for free. Jesus said, freely you have received, freely give. So that's one cool thing about the true Christian faith, is that it's free. If anyone asks you for money, it's a sign they're a false teacher. Now, you can contribute to church organizations, but most of them are based on money. And that's why they are false. Because the kingdom of heaven, which is what the true church is, the true church is a gathering of people. It's not buildings or institutions. And a gathering of people, and we are a colony from another world. See, I'm a colonizer. And I used to be part of this world, but I left it. I was translated. Like on Star Trek, Captain Kirk says to Scotty, "Beam me up." And that's what happened. Actually, I was part of this rebellious world that rebelled against God and the government. And then Jesus Christ, when he came, he says, "The kingdom of heaven is at hand." And then he said, "Repent and believe the gospel," which is the good news message, which is the reason I'm out here is to talk to you guys about the good news message of the Bible and why it's a good news, and the reality of God, the fact that there is truly a God that created the universe. It says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." So what that means, let me translate that for you. God is the infinite cause of all things. He's the first cause of everything. And so he created time, and then he created, and heaven means space. He created space. You have to have space, right? And then he created earth, which is matter. So it's called the time, space, matter continuum. And behind that is God. And that time, space, matter continuum enables you to live, to be alive. And without the time, space, matter continuum, God could not have created people like this. And it's really cool. The Bible's a revelation of truth. So we're trying to transmit truth. So God created. Why did He create us? Well, for fellowship with us. That's why. God wanted creatures like Himself to have fellowship. And there's a problem, you see. But we as a human human race have done is that we have offended God. And that has broken our relationship with Him. See, in the beginning, the Bible tells us that He created a man and a woman. Yeah. It wasn't a man and a man. It was a man and a woman. We know there's a difference between men and women. And hopefully that issue is settled now the President Trump is elected. Now, no more men and women sports, right? What do you women think about it? Should men be able to play women's sports? You know, it's amazing how stupid the infidels are. The infidels and pagans, there's three classifications in human religion and humanity. There's the atheists, which are a religion. There's the pagans, which create their own gods. And then there's the Bible religions, which believe in the true God, who is the same God of Abraham, and then even go further back, he was the same God of Noah. He was the same God of Adam. Would you like any others?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay, sure, thanks. Yeah, so I'm Professor Cliff. This is your outdoor religion class. As we're walking by, I know you're in a hurry to the next class, so don't worry about it. But as you're walking, I want you to be thinking. I want you to start thinking about God. Is there a God? And if there is a God, what is He like? You know, and a lot of people get confused on that issue. So the fortunate thing is we have the Bible, which it brings clarity. It tells us what God is like. As a matter of fact, it tells us that about the 4,000th year of the human race, God sent His Son in the likeness of human flesh and there's the great mystery, the manifestation of the divine deity, the creator of the universe, the creator of time, space, and matter, right? And the creator of you. God had you in mind. What's your name? Josie? John? What is your name? Whatever your name is. God has you in mind. God has an infinite mind. And we, being finite beings, cannot comprehend the power of an infinite mind. See, his mind is able to know everything. And there's absolutely no limit on his intelligence. And he also has infinite power. There's no limits on God's power. And he also has infinite presence. So God can be everywhere at the same time. And there's no limitations on his ability to be places. And the other thing that is really profound is he is good. And he's an infinite being, therefore his goodness is infinite. The Bible says God is love. Now, many of you guys think, well, how can a God of love send people to hell? Now you probably heard about hell. It's a place, it's actually a jail cell. It's a prison. It's a prison camp for the wicked, the evildoers, so that they won't destroy peace and harmony in the society of human life. And so we live in a world where there is no prison. Actually, the prison is death. When you die, then you get sent off to the prison. But in the meantime, you have freedom, and so people do have freedom to do good and evil. This is actually called the Day of Grace, the Day of God's mercy. And the advice the Bible gives us, do not send away the Day of Grace. What sin is, it's the violation of the law. When you violate the laws, the universal laws of God, see, the universe isn't the opposite. It's the rule of God. That's the opposite. And a lot of us don't realize it, but we're going to be held accountable for everything we've done and said in this life. See, at the end of your life, or the end of the age, God will gather all humankind, and every single person will be judged. And everyone else will be looking at you while you're judged. Did you know that? Everyone will be looking at you and knowing exactly what you did in secret. And there's a lot of things that we're embarrassed about, right? So, what is it when you're embarrassed? It's called shame. And you feel shame when you're exposed and you do things that are wrong, that everyone else judges to be wrong, and they condemn you. See, on the judgment of God, it will be the whole universe condemning you, not just God. Even the evildoers, because they will have perfect ability to judge rightly. See, one thing about sinners or lawbreakers, moral lawbreakers, is they usually have the ability to judge right and wrong when they have no self-interest in the thing that we can. But if they have a self-interest, they always push things around to make their evil look right. It's called justification or rationalization of evil. And all of us are guilty of doing that. Talk about integrity. I'm going to bring you some integrity. Integrity is when you're totally honest with yourself. yourself, you come to God, and you admit to God what you're really like, what's really in your heart. See, in your heart right now is either a supreme love of self or a love of God. You can't be both at the same time. Now, you can alternate back and forth. That's called being double-minded. But most people live for the gratification of their selfish and evil desires. Are you such a person?
I don't think your mic is on.
Yeah, this thing is.
It's not loud enough. It's got to be louder.
I know. We gotta make this louder. Yeah. Thanks for the tip. I don't mean to intrude on your walk between classes, but I'm Professor Cliff here, and I'm not a real professor, but I actually am. I know a lot about the Christian faith, and I can answer any questions that you guys might have. And I love to interact with students, so if you guys have any questions or comments, I mean, I'm totally 100% open to what you have to say. And I always treat you with respect. I always respect other people's opinions, even when I disagree with them, because that's how we should be with each other. The human race, we can learn from each other. And so we have this thing called reason, which is our human capacity to discern what is true versus what's false. So actually, the Christian faith is a reasonable, it's based on reason. And the atheists have corrupted the word faith and define it as believing in something that doesn't really exist, and that's in your imagination. But that's not what the word faith means. It means being able to perceive things that are real, that exist in the spirit or unseen realm. You see, we are bipolar creatures. We have a spirit and a body. You're not just a material being. If you were just a material being, how would you have consciousness? Right? Where does consciousness come from? Does it come from your brain? Just a bunch of chemical reactions inside of your brain, inside of your head? The consciousness comes from your spirit. And that's where you're created in the likeness of God. God is a spirit. See? And that's the real you. Did you know that when you die, death is not a cessation of existence? It is merely a separation from the physical part of your being. Now, it's an unnatural state, and God never intended for people to die. It's not like Darwinism, where it says, the survival of the fittest and death and destruction throughout. God did not create a world like that. The original world that God created, there was no death. Death, in the Bible says death is the enemy of the human race. Now, every one of you young people, I know you think you're going to live forever, but you're not. But you really are. Because, see, you had a beginning, and your spirit will live forever. Your body won't. Your body, at some point in time, I'm 69 years old, so I'm going to die probably in 10 or 20 years, or maybe even sooner, who knows. But, every one of us, this body is very fragile. We could die at any moment. And when you die, your spirit departs into a holding tank. And this holding tank is either heaven or hell. And heaven is another dimension. We can't see it. You can't run down to space and see it. That's the second heaven. There's a place called the third heaven, which is this other dimension where there's actually God and trillions of other forms of life called angels. These are humanoid type beings, and there's estimated around 60 trillion of them. So we think there's a lot of humans on Earth with 7 or 8 billion, but really that's not that many people. And that's probably been in the history of the human race, probably another 8 billion or 16 billion. So that's not really that many. And actually, the human race will not be destroyed. Because, the Bible talks about the end of the world. It doesn't mean the end of the planet.
Oh, I was just reading.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it was like any of those articles.
So, do you teach a class on religion?
I'm going to.
Or is it like a seminary class?
Oh, I know. I don't have a class. But on Sundays at 2 o'clock, I'll be teaching a class at my office. So I haven't every Sunday too, and it's just a discussion group setting. It's not a lecture setting.
More like a Bible study?
Yeah,
So,
kind of a Bible study or anything we want to talk about, really. So you're invited to come, and I will help you. Are you a believer? Or?
yes.
Oh, okay.
So, well, see,
Yeah.
I'm usually in church until about 2
Okay.
I go over to Grand Hill.
Oh, we go to Grand Hills. Yeah. Yeah,
Pastor
Grand
Mark-
Hills.
Pastor Mark Morton.
Yeah. So you'll find that my this is the manual. Hello, guys. How you doing? You're welcome to have any of these articles. Get you thinking. I want you to. That'll get you thinking. And I have some more stuff on my website. You're welcome to any of these others. Is this interesting to you? It's in Nature Documentary.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. And doing explaining there. This one is how the modern gospel. I'll give you 3. I don't want to mention, but yeah. So what I do is I come here to the university, and this is a free class. There's no tuition and there's no testing, and I'm just trying to raise your level of awareness about the true God who made you, who is your heavenly Father, who is in love with you. Did you know that? Did you ever hear that? Yeah, God is in love with you. If you have ever had a romantic relationship and been in love, then you know what the emotion feels like. Well, that's what God feels to an infinite degree. God feels an infinite degree of love because He's an infinite being. So when He has love, it is infinite, and He has that feeling toward you. And His heart is broken because you have decided to go your own way and to reject God, your Creator, the lover of your soul, and you've chosen to follow the great rebellion against the Creator. So those who are in this world, whole world is in rebellion. Now you can choose if you will be a rebel or a subject of God's. I found that car, by the way. And, it's a wonderful thing to be the subject of God's kingdom because God gives freedom. God is not like an autocrat who controls people. When you look at history, you see how governments have tried to get more and more and more control and make people slaves. If you're a European American or white, your ancestors were slaves in a feudal system in Europe. The feudal system had kings and nobles, and then serfs. The serfs were the slaves, pretty much. Now, did you know that you also are a slave? You are living on a tax farm. You're a slave on a tax farm, where about 80% of your income is taken from you. So you're going to be trying to work, right, and make money. It's kind of hard when someone takes about 80% of your income. And see, what do I come up with that number? Well, if you include inflation, you include the increase of the cost of goods and services, plus include all the different taxes. Did you know that in Washoe County, when you go get a tank full of gas, you're paying about an extra $10 to the county commission because they have a special tax in Washoe County. That's why when you go down to Carson City, it's like 50 cents to $1 a gallon cheaper. So yeah, we're slaves on a tax farm. And what happens is that governments get more and more power, they enslave you more and more. But you know what God does? God gives you everything free. Okay, think about it. Sunlight. God gives you sunlight for free. Were you ever charged for sunlight? Now, let me tell you about the people who lived in Europe in the serfdom system. If they went into the forest to gather wood to heat their houses, they had to pay the nobleman because he owned the forest. And so if they were, and back then, they didn't have central heating and gas appliances. It's pretty amazing because the infidels, the Democrat Party has been made of mostly infidels. They're trying to shut off gas to people, natural gas, which is actually one of the cleanest burning fuels that there is. Oh, the other thing is fossil fuels. Natural gas and oil are not from fossils. Coal is from fossils. But, it is from the plant material in the pre-flood world. But natural gas and oil are part of the earth. The earth is a very complex organism, basically. It's almost like a living organism. And you have all these minerals. And one of the minerals is oil and gas. And God put them there for people to be able to access. If you want to save the whales, oil has saved the whales because they didn't find oil in the ground, and so they went out on these boats, and the whales had a lot of oil, fat, so they could use it to light their lamps and things like that. So when they found oil in the ground and turned it into gasoline and diesel fuel and things like that, then it made it so they didn't need to go killing whales. And so it's amazing how the people that are in darkness is where you can't see anything, right? If you're in a room that's totally dark, you can't tell where the furniture is. And that's what this world is like. This world is in a state of darkness because you can't discern the truth. Because so many people are lying to you, it's hard to figure out the truth. Now, I am a truth speaker. So I am sent by God. I'm an ambassador from the kingdom of heaven. I am sent by God to this world. And God has told me to tell the people the truth, so they can come out of the confusion of the darkness of the lies and misinformation or disinformation they're receiving from other human beings, other institutions. Like this university system is an atheistic institution, right? I mean, they don't come out and say it, but if you believe in God and the Christian religion, you're going to get persecuted, especially if you're a professor. Or and some classes you might get persecuted also. I don't know. If you guys are persecuting in your classes, let me know. If you're Christian and you exercise your free speech in the class, will you get dinged on your grade? I would like to know, and I'd like to know the name of the professor that's doing that to you, because I don't think that's fair. And we're not yet a communist country. We almost were at the election of Harris. Actually, if Hillary Clinton got elected, we would have been a communist country. And, the American Democrats are pretty much the same as the Chinese communists. They're in the same category. They're brothers in arms. They're part of the, what do they call them, comrade? Comrade. That was a word that the Russians used to use, and it just means partner. English language is quite interesting because we have so many words that mean the same thing, but a slight variation, right? So the word comrade means that a comrade in arms against God, an atheist system. So when the Bolsheviks took over the Russian nation, which was actually a religious nation, the Russian Orthodox Church ran Russia under the Tsar. The Bolsheviks took over. It was the first atheist nation in the West, and actually, religion was, or the Christian religion was forced on the European peoples in before that. And if you were part of a country, you were actually forced to go to church. It's kind of a bad thing. True Christians don't believe in forcing people to do anything. We believe in reason, logic. We try to stimulate your thinking, and because the reason why is because God doesn't want anybody to love Him or worship Him because they're forced to do it. It destroys virtue. Virtue has to be a free will action to choose something that is good, to choose good. So now here's a little English language lesson, guys. Uh, are you virtuous? Do you have virtue or do you have vice? Do you know what vice is? Vice is, right? Immorality, right? So you're doing something that's immoral. And so you're either virtuous or you have vice. So that's the question. Which one are you? A person of virtue or a person of vice? And what is morality? Who defines morality? I got good news. God gave you guys a conscience where you are able to discern good from evil. When Adam and Eve, go back to the Bible story, and it's not a story, it's Bible history, and the first man and first woman, Adam actually was the name of both of them. God gave their name Adam, which means man, human, and the man gave Eve her name. So God didn't call Eve, but Adam did. So these first two people, when they were first created, they did not have moral powers. Now they knew right from wrong because God told them right from wrong, but they could not discern independently right from wrong. But when they rebelled against God and ate of the fruit of that tree of the knowledge of good and evil, then their abilities, their moral powers were enhanced. Now they were able to independently choose or discern right from wrong. And of course, they have free will. Free will is a really incredible thing. Can you guys think about that? You have freedom of action and choice. You have freedom. Where are you going to go? What school are you going to go to? Where are you going to eat dinner tonight? What if you have the government telling you where you can eat dinner tonight, or who could be your boyfriend or girlfriend, or wife or husband? I mean, that would be slavery. That's what slavery is. And actually, socialism, which turns into communism, is a slave camp system. And like I said earlier, we're all slaves in a tax camp. And yeah, when you realize how much you're a slave in a tax camp, then it makes it like, oh wow, really? Yeah, that's the truth. You'll work all your whole life, and you'll have nothing at the end, unless you're working for the government. Then you'll have some kind of a pension, and you'll be able to retire early. But most people, they have nothing, and because you're just taxed to death. And it's not supposed to be that way. In America, this country was founded by our forefathers to get free from the feudal system of Europe, where they had the nobility and the slavery. So we have that similar thing going on now, and it's progressing and getting worse and worse. But like I said before, God gives freedom. See, God gives you sunlight free, water. Do you have to pay for your water? No, God gives water for free. Go down the Truckee River. Now the government might charge you to pump the water to your house. But they're doing a service, so you got to pay a little bit. But so God gives us sunshine, water. He gives us food, doesn't He? He causes things to grow. In God's economy, you take one seed and put it into the ground, and it has it grows up in a plant, and it has a head with 30 to 100 more seeds. That's a 30 to 100 times, which is 1,000% increase from what you started with. If you guys go into business, you'll be happy to make a 30% profit margin, on what you sell, which is actually an honest way to do things. Some businesses are making 100%, 200, 300% profit margin, and when there's competition, then it decreases the profit margin of people. Actually, in what's called a capitalist system, which is a free enterprise system, people will actually lower the price of things to make more money, which contradicts logic. You should raise the price to make more money, right? And this is how God causes evil people who are selfish and greedy, which most people in this world are selfish and greedy. This is how God causes them to lower the price so that they serve each other. See, in the future world, there will be no money. It talks about Isaiah 55. Come, buy and eat without money. No money at all. because everyone will love one another. Everyone will love working and exercising their gifts and talents to benefit the others in that society. See, that society is called the world of tomorrow, which we call heaven. The world of tomorrow is real, and it will go on forever and ever. It will never end. God does not create things to destroy. So God created the human race. He will not destroy the human race. They say the end of the world. It's only the end of the political system. The rebellious political system that we're living in now that hates God. See, this is a theopathic political system that hates God, hates the government and rule of God because people are selfish and greedy and proud. Those are the three things that people are: selfish, greedy, and proud. And actually, the atheist will say religion starts wars. Actually, what starts wars is atheism. When people reject God and they become greedy and selfish and proud. So, what are you? Are you greedy? Are you trying to obtain things in a dishonest way? Do you love material things more than you love people or God? We have a moral obligation to love God. You do, because God's your father. He's your creator. He's the one that gave you birth. He's your father and your mother. And so, like if you have a child, so you get married, you have a child, I recommend that to you, young people. It's one of the greatest blessings there is to get married to a woman and have a covenant, a man and a woman loving each other, having a covenant of marriage. A covenant is a solid contract between two people to love each other for your whole life. It's a wonderful and beautiful thing. And you learn in that relationship to be unselfish. You have to learn to give. The reason people get divorced is because they're selfish. And they don't get what they want, so then they dump that person and think somebody else is going to give them happiness. They seek their own happiness. What happens? See, this is the path to happiness, folks. Seek the happiness of other people, and then you'll find happiness. Don't seek your own happiness as your primary goal or primary purpose living. And see, that's what God does. God does that. He wants you to be happy and to be prosperous and to be well, to have what's called well-being. See, to be healthy, to be whole, to be sound. You know what sin does? When you sin, which is a violation of the laws of our Creator, you are violating your own nature. Yes, you are. You're going against your own nature, and you can never be happy when you're sinning. The first thing you have to do to become happy is to cease your rebellion and to submit to God and the Lord Jesus Christ, who is and He is real. And He will give you the gift of the Holy Spirit. Did you know the Holy Spirit is given to people in this world, and you cannot have or experience the presence of the Spirit of God until you submit to Jesus Christ and acknowledge Him for who He is. See, He is God incarnate, which means made flesh. Jesus Christ, yeah, and I'm sure you guys heard this. But the question is, Jesus Christ is God, and what's your moral obligation, right? Is to love Him back because He loves you. He loves you first, and the whole gospel story about Jesus coming, the Christmas story, and the story of His death, burial, and resurrection, His suffering, His life, His teachings, all of that. The gospel story is a story of God's love for the human race. God's passionate love for you. And He loves people even when they're sinners. But there is a time when the love of God will cease. Because see, this is the age of grace or mercy, where God tolerates the sin of a rebellious world. But there, at the end, he puts a limit on evil. He has to put a limit on evil, otherwise it will grow exponentially, and life itself will be miserable. be no enjoyment in life. That's how it was in the pre-flood world. They lived about 1,600 years, and every thought of man was evil continually, so God had to put an end to the world before the great deluge. Actually, the word flood doesn't even describe what it was because it covered all the planets. Actually, I have an article here on the evidence of a young Earth. The Earth is only about 6,000 years old. This whole billions of years thing is a bunch of myths and fables by a bunch of atheists and from France. Started in France, the whole atheist movement, to try to convince people there is no God. And things are not billions of years old. And what they believed in is the only thing that exists is material matter. It's called materialism. Matter is all that exists. There's no spiritual reality. Well, let me tell you about matter. Matter is nothing. It's 99.999% empty space. Like that cement down there. It's not really solid. So people that think that all that exists is matter are believing in nothing. But and what they're trying to do is they don't like God's laws, and they don't want to submit to God because they're selfish and greedy. And I found that most infidels or atheists, they're controlled by their sexual urges because they live for pleasure, and sex is one of the most pleasurable things you can experience. Now, other people, they take drugs, but drugs tend to destroy you. Actually, sexual promiscuity will destroy you too, because it destroys your emotions. Because you're going back and forth in relationships with people, and they keep rejecting you, and then that's why people commit suicide too. They get to the point where they're despairing, and they get to that point is because they haven't discovered the love of our God, our Creator, the great God who created us, who loves us passionately so much, and wants us to be in fellowship with Him. See, so people have a misconception of God because Hollywood is constantly blaspheming or lying about God's nature. God is good. He's infinitely good. Saying if you don't choose God, you're choosing the devil. And the devil is a malevolent being. He was one of the highest order of angels that God created, called a cherub. And a very powerful being. And he actually was one of the people persons that stood in the presence of God and in the temple of God. And he decided he says, I want to be worshipped. I want to be like God. And when he made that selfish and proudful decision, he chose the path of evil and he became evil. And the devil and all of his followers in the angelic realm are malevolent beings to an infinite degree. There is no love or goodness in them. I'm amazed at how often people fall for the devil lying and saying that he loves you. The devil has no capacity to love people, none whatsoever. And so if you're following the devil, you're following an infinitely malevolent being that wants to destroy you. Now we can see the devil at work in the world. We can see people getting in conflicts. We can see nations getting in conflicts, war, and destruction. That's the work of the devil because he puts thoughts into your mind to get you to think that you want to rebel against God and his laws. One of the laws of God is thou shalt not kill, right? So God commands, do not kill other people. I give you the right to live, and you have no right to take somebody else's right to live. But so where does the urge to kill come from? Well, it comes from greed. Usually in war, when nations war, they're trying to get the land and the wealth of the other nation. And it's also rooted in pride, because, national pride. You think you're better than other people. And it's the same in individual relationships. I have a little article here. Do you want world peace? So this article on world peace tells how to produce peace in the world. Jesus Christ is called the Prince of Peace. He will eventually bring peace to the entire world and righteousness, and there will be no more tears, no more sorrow, no more pain, no more death. But in this world, there's all of those things. And the only way to overcome the evil of this world is to have faith in God. So when when you have faith in God, you know that God is providential. And if you commit yourself to his care, then he will take care of you, and there's nothing that can hurt you. And you will be okay in the end. See? There's nothing more secure than knowing God's love and care and committing yourself to him and being able to rest in the knowledge that an infinitely powerful being who is infinitely good is taking care of you. So no matter what anyone does to you, you're going to be okay in the end, even if they kill you. Jesus Christ said, do not fear those who can kill the body, but fear him who can kill both body and soul. Who is that? Well, that's God, right? So you're to fear other people. That's actually the American way. We don't fear other people. We don't fear rulers or tyrants. Real Americans. I'm not sure if there's any real Americans left, but we don't submit to tyrants. We only submit to God. When we submit to the God who's the creator of the world, you are all of a sudden free. You are at liberty from humankind, rulers and autocrats making you a slave. And one of the ways they make you a slave is they work on your appetites, you see. So right now, what the autocrats in the world right now, the billionaire class who has captured probably 95% of the world wealth of the planet, they're trying to take away your food supply so that they can force you into submission. Hey, if you don't do what we tell you to do, you're not going to eat. That's persuasion, right? That's actually force. And so they're trying to buy up all the farmland. They're trying to burn things down. And so many food processing plants are burned down. It's really amazing. And so there's some very powerful evil people in this world. And if you don't come to Jesus and find God as your protector, see, God will be your protector from that. So even if they do kill your body, boom, you're transformed and you're transferred into the heavenly realm, and you're walking around where nobody can hurt you. And then there's a time in the future when Jesus Christ, who is uh, the resurrection and the life, when he will call forth all of the dead. Did you know that is going to actually happen? There's a day in which every person who has ever died will come back to life again. And when they come back to life, they will be in a youthful state. So if you live to 8 years old, you look like Granny, right? And but then when you're resurrected, you look like you were 19 years old. How would you like to have eternal youth? Where there's no aging, there's no dying, there's no suffering, no pain, no sorrow. That's the world of tomorrow, which only the righteous ones are worthy of that world. And you have a choice whether you're going to be one of the righteous ones or one of the wicked ones. See, there's good and there's evil. There's the righteous and then there's the wicked. And the word wicked comes from wicker, and when in a wicker basket, it's all twisted around. So what it means is twisted, perverted, corrupted. See, God gave us a nature that is good. What we do with our nature is we pervert it and corrupt it. People corrupt themselves morally in all kinds of ways. They corrupt themselves sexually, which is one of the main ways they corrupt themselves. By being sexually immoral, and they don't know what they're doing when they're actually hurting yourself when you do that. They corrupt themselves by taking drugs and alcohol. That really harms the body and harms the mind. And they corrupt themselves by learning to rip off people, to be thieves, dishonest in their human relations. Um, so there's many ways that people corrupt themselves. See, what the nature that God gave you from birth is good, but it's not morally good. it's physically good, and then you have the choice to make your own moral decisions. So you can make yourself good, or you can make yourself evil. So only the good or the righteous ones will enter the world of tomorrow. And it's a very real world. It's physical like this world is physical, and it will infinitely expand. Now, you've heard a lot of preachers talk about hell, but I don't want to talk about hell today. I want to talk about heaven, what we call heaven. But heaven is really the world of tomorrow. Because what happened to yesterday? Is yesterday here? It's gone. It's evaporated. The only thing that's here is today, right now. Yesterday, you can't go back in time. In spite of what all these movies say that you can go back in time, you really can't go back in time, can you? Yeah, it's impossible. Actually, though, in the future world, there will be libraries where you can see what has happened in the past. You won't be able to go there, but you'll be able to see. And the future citizens of the future world will look back at your life, and they will judge you. And if you've lived an evil life, they'll say, "Oh, look at that John guy! Wow, look what he did! Can you believe his audacity and pride and his rebellion?" It actually talks about it in the book of Isaiah at the very end. It talks about the people of that future world will look out and see the carcasses of the evil people, and they will despise them. Do you want to be one of those evil people that's cast out into the darkness where there is no light? Or do you want to live in the brightness of the beauty of the heavenly realm? Oh, that world is going to be incredible. See, God is going to refashion this whole world, and it talks about this earth being refashioned too. And actually, in the future, Earth will have no water. That's pretty incredible, huh? Because this planet has tons of water. You know what's really interesting is when we talk about flood geology and how there's a great flood that described in the Bible that's called Noah's flood, right? The atheists say, well, where did all the water go? But actually, the water is in the oceans, guys. The whole planet was reformed during that time. There were huge earthquakes, and a lot of sedimentary rock was formed. And that's one of the evidences of the flood is the folding of these rocks that were just mud at the time, because you can't fold solid rock. So you see folds in the surface of the earth. That's evidence that this all happened at the time of Noah's flood. And they think, well, that was only 4,500 years ago, 4,600 years ago. That couldn't have happened. That's not long enough ago. That's a long time. 4,500 years is a very long time. You know, how many of you guys were here when George Washington was the president of the United States? How long ago was that? Like 250 years ago, right? Yeah. 250 years is a long time. So, yeah, and there's all lot of evidences of the young earth, and I got a little pamphlet on that, so you guys are welcome to have it. Everything I have here is free. For an introduction, my name is Cliff. I'm your outdoor religion class professor, and I apologize for my speaker not working very good. I got to put this microphone right up here. I have these other articles on what does the Bible say about life? A simple explanation. Liberate your life from failure and ignorance. Discover the freedom that comes from knowing God and His instructions on living. How many of you guys want to know God and His instructions and rules on living? Do you believe in God? Yes, sir. Oh, you do? Cool. Would you like one of these? Yeah, I'll just give it to you. Free of charge. Hey, have a good day, sir. Yeah, so the Bible is God's instructions on living, how to live a prosperous life. And you know what? There's a lot of critical things, because if you make a wrong choice, it's like turning down a wrong road that leads to nowhere. If you turn down a wrong road that leads to nowhere, what's going to happen? There's been times where people in the wintertime in northern Nevada here who've been driving out in the desert, and they think they're on the Google Maps thing, and it takes them down some wrong road, and they get stuck on the snow. And then this was like 30 years ago, this one couple, and they froze to death out. happened up in Oregon, too. So it's very important that you make the right decisions when you make these moral decisions for how you're going to live and conduct your life, right? So you would want information on what kind of moral decision do I make that's going to cause me to prosper? What kind of moral decisions should I avoid that will cause me harm? So in this little article here I wrote, this little trifold thing, you guys can have it free. And then I got information about my website on the back. And yeah, so you can have these free. And there's a YouTube channel too. I have a lot of teachings and sermons on that also. And I got little articles that you can load into your phone. But the Bible is the most important thing to read. So what does it talk about? It talks about God. It talks about good and evil, the order of the universe, God's government, future, the principle of justice. That's a very important one to understand. Now, let me talk about justice for a while because the concept of justice has been perverted to meaning that everyone has an equal amount of money. That's not justice. Justice is that if you work hard, you make more money, and if you work less, you make less money. That's justice, you see. So everyone would have an equal piece of the pie, which is socialism. It's not justice. What do we call it? Equity. Actually, equity is not even equity either. But justice is this. It's the children know it when they're children. Like, you got 4 kids, right? And then you got mama has 4 cookies. So she gives all 4 cookies to one kid. That's not justice, right? Justice is everyone have an equal amount. Right? So the kids will say, "That's not fair, mommy." Children from a very young age know what justice is. And if you do evil, justice requires that you be punished. People don't realize that. They think they can get away with doing evil. Justice will get you no matter what. You cannot run away from justice. It's a principle in the universe. And, the universe is composed of trillions of independent thinking beings. Not just people, but what we call angels. And these angels, they're looking at us, they're looking at our lives and how we live our lives. So that's the principle of justice. Then the concept of a future judgment. See, that's where justice is in a sense. So a lot of times in this life we get away with things, but it's kind of like being a criminal who commits a crime and he's on the run and he hasn't been caught yet. So that's what most of us are like. We have committed crimes against the government of heaven, and we haven't been caught yet. And justice will require you eventually you pay a penalty for the evil. But a justice also requires you to be rewarded for good. So it works both ways. And so there will be a reward for the righteous and punishment for the wicked. So the question is, young man, young woman, which one are you? Are you one of the righteous ones or one of the wicked ones? See, Jesus Christ came into the world to turn us away from our evil path. We thought our evil path was good and we justified our own evil path. But it wasn't good. It isn't good. And you may be suffering the consequences of your decision. That's part of the proof that your evil path is not good. And so then, after that, in my little booklet here, social harmony. What creates, socialism is called social. It actually should be called anti-socialism because it destroys social harmony. Um, because it says that you cannot possess anything, and the government has to be the owner of everything. You possess your body. You possess the things that you own that you worked for and bought with your own money. No one has the right to come and steal it from you, do they? No one has the right to cross the boundary of your own body, to violate your body. That's why when we interact with each other, we don't, you can't just go and touch my body and I can't touch your body, right? It's because you own your body. It's not owned by the government or anybody else. owned by you and God. And actually, God is the arbiter between all human beings. And He will execute justice. But the Bible tells us how to have social harmony, how to have peace between independent, free moral agents. And then there's moral obligation. Moral obligation is our obligation to always choose what's right and reject what's evil. So now let me ask you a question. Do you always do that? Do you always choose what is right and reject what is evil? And then there's truth. The Bible is full of truth. Matter of fact, Jesus Christ is the embodiment of truth. His person is the physical embodiment of truth. When you look at what Jesus taught in the Bible, you read the Bible in the New Testament, that's truth. And actually, the whole Bible is Jesus' words, not just the red letters of the New Testament. But in particular, though, his teachings when he came to the world, because he came to the world to establish the outpost of a colony of the kingdom of heaven on the earth. And that's what the word, the ecclesia, is. It's a Greek word for church. And a church is not a building. It's not an institution. It does not have a priesthood. There is no priesthood in the church. There's no clergy. There are people with giftings that help other people. But it's not a building. People get confused on that. And that's what they see in the Christian religion. They see a lot of, they see these institutions, which are most often corrupt. And so I apologize for them. They're not the true church. The true church is people that love God, the called out ones. We're called out. That's what the word ecclesia means. We're called out of an evil world. So my question to you, is God calling you out of an evil world into His family? See, God has a family, and you can join that family, or you can refuse to join it, become one of and follow the Great Rebellion. The rebellion authored by Lucifer, what used to be his name. It's called Satan now, and where he rebelled against God, rejected God. And, the devil wants to hurt God because he hates God, but the only way he can hurt God because God is infinitely powerful. God could squash the devil like a bug anytime he wants, but he allows him to exist and do his evil deeds because people have to have a choice. So it looks like it's a choice between two evils, but it's really not. And God will eventually destroy all evil and those who follow the devil. So I don't advise following the devil. But you may not even believe there is a devil. Well, there is a devil, and there are little devils too. I think about that movie, that cartoon called Despicable Me. Have you guys ever heard of that? You watched that cartoon, Despicable Me? Were you like 5 years old when that came out? 10, maybe 10. Well, in Despicable Me, there's this villain, this really bad guy. But he's shown to be really good at heart. Well, let me tell you, that's Hollywood lying to you about the devil. The devil is not good at all. He is completely malevolent, and he only wants to hurt you. Yeah. So, so this Despicable Me tries to paint him as a good guy, and then he has these minions running around. These minions are cute little things, but no, the devil's evil spirits that are running around in this world trying to persuade you to commit sin, they are not minions. They're not cute little things. Minions used to mean an evil person that worked for an even more evil person, So you see how Hollywood kind of distorts the truth. And they try to paint the devil as a good guy. As a matter of fact, I was listening to the Satanist guy. He tried to make out the devil or God to be a malevolent being. God is evil. And then they tried to make the devil seem to be a good guy, right? So what do you guys think? Do you think the devil's a good guy and God's bad? I want your opinions on that. I should have a survey form. I love talking to you guys, so if you want to talk to me, I turn this thing off. This is I'm Cliff Nellis in your outdoor religion class, and there's no tuition, it's free charge, and no testing. And these articles are all free. I have one called "Atheism is Dead." Yes, atheism is dead. It's based on a book where it says, is atheism dead? But I turned the words around because atheism really is dead. Because as science discovers more and more of the complexity and the delicate balance in the universe that we live in, they realized there had to be a creator, and there also has to be a God that holds everything together. Because if God wasn't holding everything together, it would all fall apart. Yes, the universe would not maintain itself for 1 hour without God keeping everything in balance. One of the things, if you study history, you find that the when they did it, they got worried about the nature that they lived in. So along comes an eclipse of the sun, and they say, "Oh, this big monster is gobbling up the sun. So you're going to sacrifice your daughter now." Huh. They're doing the same thing with the global warming, and see, the thing is, they're up to an old tricks. We don't have to worry because God is keeping everything in balance. If we burn some oil and put some carbon into the air, which carbon is oxygen for plants, you know. As a matter of fact, carbon is too low. So these guys are like, they're insane. Anyone who hates God is insane. They're crazy. The Bible actually says in 2 of the Psalms, the prophet said, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God." So you want to be wise. You don't want to be a fool. A fool is someone that we call them stupid. But actually, stupid and idiot, I think they come from they used to be handicapped. But a fool is someone who willfully and knowingly chooses to destroy themselves, to hurt themselves, and to go against the natural order of the world and the universe. Oh, hello, young lady. Do you have any questions? Oh, what are you guys come back? I plan on being here for a while. You can take any of these articles. That's one of my favorites. This one's a little easier. And then I have all these piece. And then this one is students on sexuality, sexism, are you Christian or are you Christian? Oh, this one's really interesting. Young Earth. Atheistic scientism. And you can have one of both. Are you a believer? Or are you just a secret?
I think he multiplied all that bread.
Yes, he did. That's cool. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yes, thank you.
Nice talking to you. I'll talk to you later. Well, I just had a very nice conversation with a young lady that took some articles. So you guys are welcome to have these all free articles. And this is Professor Cliff's outdoor religion class. And the reason I'm here is because I love you. And God told me to come out here to tell you that He loves you. Yes. Now, it's kind of hard for men to take that. Like, God is in love with us. Actually, it's not that hard. It's kind of nice when a woman is in love with you, right? But God is masculine, and He's in love with men and women. And He loves you with an infinite love, and He is offering to you mercy because you are in a state of rebellion against His government. And out of His mercy and goodness, He is offering you forgiveness. And that's possible through Jesus Christ and His work when He was crucified. He did that work. How are you doing? That's David. David. Yeah, have a good class. Yeah. Yeah, I know you guys are heading to the class, and so I don't mind you just walking by. But if you have time to talk, I love talking to students because, you know, the reason I said before, I'm here, I could be skiing. I love skiing, and I love exploring the Nevada mountains, which are very accessible now. Except up the top, some of them have snow up there. You just You can only take your side-by-side up to the snowy. Unless you bring your skis, then you can take your skis out and cross-country ski a little further, I guess. But I'm going to be taking students on little exploration trips. So if you guys want to go on the exploration trips with me, from time to time I'll probably be doing that. But so it's going to kind of be a club or something like that. But I also want to set up little discussion groups. So if you guys want to be involved in a discussion group, like I'm not sure what time to set them up. Like maybe on the fourth floor of the John Travis. Oh, that's not. What's the name of your student union again? Used to be John Travis. I used to come here in '73. But yeah, the student union, they have some discussion groups. So we'll discuss life, the Bible, whatever you guys want to talk about. I was thinking of setting them up at noon. It's 10 till 12 now. But yeah, I plan on being here pretty frequently because God has put it on my heart to reach out to the young people at the University of Nevada Reno and to show them His love for them and to speak the truth to them so they can be liberated from the lie. Because the lie will bring you into bondage, into slavery. You see. And, you know, when people are speaking to you, you not only have to listen to the words, but you got to watch their actions. Because there's a lot of deceivers out there that want to take advantage of you and rip you off one way or the other. Now, I'm not here to rip you off. I don't get paid anything. Now, your professors, they're getting paid about 250 grand a year, which is probably more than any of you guys will ever make. Because they're in a kind of a monopolistic system where they can get paid that much, and they don't work very much either. If they were really paid for what they worked, they'd be paid about $75,000 because they don't work that hard. They got a cushy job. And I'm not saying they're all bad. Some of them are good. Some of them might even be believers in Jesus and God. But most of them are infidels, atheists. And that's what an infidel means. The word being infidel means one who doesn't believe in God. And or non-believer. And usually they say Muslims say infidel, but that's not believing their God. And their God is a false God. It's not the same God as the Christians and Jews. The Christians and Jews have the same God, and his name is Jehovah. And that's the name that God, when he was in the burning bush that didn't wasn't consumed, he spoke directly to Moses, and Moses asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, Jehovah, which means I am what I am. Moses asked, "What's your name, God?" Right? Because your name is what you are. You know, and it's really amazing. God gives, your parents give you a name, and that's kind of what you are. So actually, what God was saying to Moses, he was actually saying, "I will be what I will be." That's what it means also. So God was saying, "I'm not going to give you my real name, but you'll find out later." So when the angel came to Joseph, we know the Christmas story, right? He said to Mary, he said, or actually said to Joseph, his legal father, not his real father, he said to him, "You shall call his name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins." And so the name Jesus means salvation. Salvation means healing. It means deliverance from bondage. And it has many meanings like that. It's really deep. It's kind of like, if you were drowning in the ocean, right? And some guy comes around in a boat, and he throws you in life vest on a rope. You would say he's saved, right? Because if he didn't do that, then you would drown. And we know that when you drown, you die. You don't live anymore after you drown because there's no more oxygen. You can't breathe any longer. And or maybe the sharks will get you. See, you live in a world, young people, where there's a lot of sharks swimming around, and you're swimming in this ocean with a lot of sharks, and it's very dangerous, and I'm very concerned about you, and I want to rescue you. So that's what salvation also means. It means to be rescued. But Jesus said, if you are my disciples, so now you have a choice. You can become a disciple of Jesus or reject him. And really, that is the ultimate choice for everyone living in this world. Will you be a believer in God and the disciple or the apprentice of Jesus Christ? Jesus Christ will tell you how to live your life. He tells you right there in the Bible. And he sent me to help teach people what his doctrine is. And so I have classes and I'll teach people. I have these articles. These are all articles that I wrote myself. So you're welcome to any of these are free. And I welcome you young people to come and engage me in conversation. I love talking to young people. If you have any questions or comments, this is Professor Cliff Outdoor Religion Class, where you can learn about God, and about the true God, not the false gods. You see, the world has a lot of false gods because there was this guy named Nimrod. And this is about 500 years after the flood. 500 years, yeah. That was about 4,000 years ago. And he rebelled against God. He started building this big tall building called Babel, the Tower of Babel. And he was a rebel, and he was really angry at God because God destroyed the pre-flood world. That was a very technologically advanced world. People don't realize how advanced that world was, but they were also into witchcraft, and they could levitate things and stuff like that. And they used there were these spiritual wars with each other. There's violence everywhere. God said, "Oh man, I'm going to have to start over again." This thing, everyone was totally evil. So Nimrod was aware of that world before, but he was angry that God had destroyed him. So he hated God. So to get back at God, he started teaching people how to worship false gods. So, the atheists say that religion is an invention of man and that we create God out of our own imagination. Well, that's very true about paganism. Pagans do that. But not the true God. The true God who's the creator. We don't, as a matter of fact, he created us out of his imagination. We were created by God, not us creating God. So that's where the atheists are wrong. There is a infinitely powerful creator who created us. And not only is he infinitely powerful, but he's infinitely good and infinitely loving. Nobody in this world, young people, loves you like Jesus loves you. Nobody. Now, some of you are fortunate enough to have a wife or a husband, a boyfriend or a girlfriend that really loves you, or parents that really love you, or brothers and sisters that really love you. There is love in this world, but a lot of you are victims of people hating you or not loving you. Did you know that indifference is a form of hate? When someone ghosts you or stonewalls you, they don't want to talk to you anymore. You ever have that in a relationship where that person just refuses to answer your phone calls or emails or text? That's actually a form of hatred. Isn't that true? How many of you experience heartache? Do you know what heartache feels like? Now, most of you are old enough to have experience. Most people, they start having crushes on boys and girls when they're young, like 12, 13 years old. They experience it. I remember my children, they were brokenhearted when the dog killed the rabbit. The rabbit's name was Popcorn, and I had to have a funeral for the rabbit for my 4 daughters because, they were brokenhearted. Like, the poor little bunny was killed. They faced death. Oh, how tragic. They didn't know death actually existed until Popcorn died. Yeah. And then when you lose a loved one, like someone that you really love, and they die. Dying is a difficult thing to handle, isn't it? Like if you have a loved one die, it's emotionally traumatic. I know some people when their parents died or some loved one died, they never recovered from it. Really, they just sapped them of life. You know, if you're going through hard times in your life, there is a way to overcome that difficult time, and that is faith. That word, faith. And you're going to say, what do you mean, faith? Well, this is how faith helps you overcome any difficult time you're going through. Is because you know that there is a God who loves you, and He has infinite power, and He can control all things in the universe, and He is not limited by His power, and He's not limited by His love, and because you have put yourself into His arms, trust Him, He will take care of you, and nothing can hurt you. Wow. Then you don't have to worry. And when people reject you and hate you for no reason, or maybe they do have a reason.
Yeah, because religion is poison.
Atheism is poison. It killed 120 million people in the last century.
More people have been killed in the name of your God than anything else in history.
No, only 7% of wars were caused by religion, and half of those were caused by the Muslim religion. So you have the facts wrong, sir. You know what causes death? People are greedy. They want more land. They want the possessions of the other country. It's greed and pride that causes war, not religion. That's what the atheists will tell you. They're slandering God. They're slandering the Christian faith. The Christian faith brought civilization to the world. Do you know what tribalism is? Tribalism is where one tribe has a vendetta against the other tribe, and because they killed one of their members, and then there's a blood feud going between the tribes. Yeah, so like if you were in one of the Indian tribes, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night because you didn't know when the other tribes are going to show up and slit your throat like sleeping. That's tribalism. Yeah. So civilization is where we were taught, love your enemy as yourself. And then it puts an end to the war. See, like the Hatfields and the McCoys, you know about that, right? And that's actually a movie about that. There used to be blood feuds in America, mostly in the South. Yeah, where one family would be like killing the other family, and it was only broken when people learned to forgive. You have to forgive, and that's why, like, people don't know this, but the Paiutes hate the Washoe, their local tribes. Yeah, and then the Washoe, the Paiutes hate the Shoshone. And it's because they remember things that happened 100 years ago to their grandparents, and they won't forgive. So you love, you forgive, you put an end to wars, and that's. So I have this article in my little atheist friend that you went by too fast. Do you want world peace? Like this? Yeah. So this. Yeah, you're welcome. They're all free. I'm the outdoor professor. Young Earth.